Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wandering Podcast, where we take advisement from outside the box. I'm Rihanna Ritter, your host. I'm an intuitive sexuality and authentic expression coach. Are you an accomplished professional who plays the part of having it all figured out? Who's strong for everyone else but feels lonely, misunderstood, like you can't tell anybody the truth about how stressed you are, how not passionate you are about your life and all that you've created? I guide my clients to deep, lasting fulfillment. I re-engage them with their bodies, their pleasure, their desire. I help them align to enjoy fulfillment and prosperity in all areas of their lives.
Today, my guest is Danita. She runs Align with Danita. Thank you for being here today, Danita. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Rihanna. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, so Align with Danita, you help people overcome anxiety and stress. And one of the things that you mentioned specifically on your website is without reliving their past. So I'd love to hear more about how you go about it.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, without reliving their past traumas, things like that. I'm not going to be your typical medication coach. I'm not a believer in that. I'm also not a believer that meditation or breathing or journal writing is also going to fix it either. And so I look at more of a foundational type of healing. And I use a lot of neuroscience and physics in the way that I speak because I do believe that truth prevails. That's what sets us free from where we're at. And so as far as whatever we're struggling with, it could be anxiety, could be procrastination, could be trauma, whatever it is that we're going through. What I like to do is be able to track and measure where we're currently at. And how I do that is I think what's such a great idea is for everyone to just sit down and really find out what their current beliefs are. And how to do that would be on a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is the highest, 1's the lowest. And you would just rate yourself on, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm deserving, I'm good enough, I am a pure soul, I can trust, I can be open, I can expand myself, I am authentic, I'm okay to be authentic, I'm safe to be authentic, right? Like these type of beliefs that I would challenge listeners to do, because then what that does is it allows them to see where they're currently at. And then from there is where we can, instead of having to relive past trauma, which energetically pulls us down into more of a doom and gloom type of emotion, which is a low vibration. What's the point of that? Instead, it's about retraining the survival brain into more understanding what a thriving brain looks like instead, and being able to adopt new emotions into the body, such as happiness and joy and peace and love and trust, all these different types of foreign emotions that people that have had trauma don't really have as a sustainable foundation in their life. It's usually the doom and gloom is what they fear most, or they're living with on more of what's called the emotional home. So that would be the answer to your question. Is I guide more with expanding one's mind and the perspective rather than having to relive the past.
And so how do you get people to let go of old stories? Like our current beliefs come from an old story that we've told ourselves over and over and over forever. So how do people let go of it without reliving the past? And how, when you have them rate themselves on in these areas, like where are they at the beginning and where are they at the end?
Yes. What I would then teach them is the neurological pathway loop, showing that our thoughts create our emotions, and all of our emotions are driving our actions, and all of our actions are dictating our outcome. And so we have a choice. We have a choice to stay in contracted energy. But if you look at Albert Einstein, one of my favorite quotes is, we are all energy. And if we want to match the frequency of a higher energy, well, then we'll get that outcome. We'll get a positive outcome if we are able to match that frequency. But if we can't, we're not going to get it. There can be no other way. It's not philosophy, it's physics. And so to me, I really like understanding more of the neuroscience and the physics wrapped around it, because to me that gives me like a structure to lean on. And so the question you're asking me is how, right? I'm giving you the overview first before I give you the how, because it's important for one's mind to see where we're going. And then once you see where we're going, then I take you into more of the details and take you to the stories that I've had, or we can call them the analogies or whatever, to kind of to seal the picture in our minds. But first place is, after we've done the 1 to 10 step and you find out that your limiting beliefs are maybe sitting in like 2s and 3s, well, that's a realization to go, okay, where did these come from and are they true? Okay. And that's where I would take you. The next part is going, okay, so let's say we've come into the belief of I'm not good enough. Where did you get that belief? And when we identify where we got it, we don't need to go relive the past. We can just say, is that yours? Is that really yours? Is that true that it's yours? Or is that maybe an event that happened? Or maybe it was a parent that it was their generational trauma passed on you. And for a moment, I give people a broader perspective where they start to take more control, because that's truly what expansive energy is, a broader perspective. But contracting energy is so narrow focused. And what we do is, as children, is we are adopting, we are absorbing, we are like sponges of everybody else's generational trauma and limiting beliefs. So if somebody says, you're not smart enough, well, who's to say what smart is? Because maybe I'm not smart in math, but maybe I'm maybe I'm a genius when it comes to history. And so what we do is we change the perspective, and that's where rewriting the story really comes in. And by broadening that perspective, be like, well, is that your truth? Or is it their limiting belief that passed on to you? And that's the moment you set people free of it. They go, oh my gosh, you're right. Like I could be good enough this entire time. It's not my fault. And then from that realization, then it changes the emotion. And people ask all the time, well, the emotion comes from the thought, right? And that's the frequency. And so by going into the laws of physics, you'll be able to raise the frequency, which will give you a different outcome. So automatically you'll see that the actions will change and the outcome will follow. And so it's by being able to work through the entire loop of it, not just half the loop. A lot of people get stuck in just actions, outcome, and why they can't change. They're journal writing, they're meditating, they're praying, they're in talk therapy, having all these discussions. But ultimately it comes down to, well, let's go to the foundation of it.
Yeah. So by identifying where the belief came from, maybe people think that that's reliving the past, but it's very simple, and it doesn't have to be a long-term thing where you experience the actual pain that you felt in the moment. But do you see that people, when they have the realization that they have an emotional release, because that usually helps people to move energy out of their body that's been stagnant and move on with a new story, new belief?
There's two things that come up for that. There's I work cognitive and somatic. And so what that means is cognitive is our mental. It's our if we like to think our way out of it by changing the limiting belief. And then you have the somatic, which is more of the embodiment or the movement within the body. You're going into nature, going on a walk, or activating the five senses is another way that we can go into if we feel stuck in the cognitive side. Because that's where I got stuck, was trying to outthink this limiting belief. And so I use both tools. Both can be very helpful. But no, we don't have to relive it, right? Like we don't have to go back into the details and bring up the trauma and have every detail. Like, what the fuck? Like, sorry, we really don't need to do that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, this is where it came from. Like I was molested. Okay, well then when I was molested, well then I created a belief of it's my fault. Okay, well then it just simply is that true? Is it true that it was your fault? Well, shit, no, it's not. No, it's not my fault. I was 4 years old. Okay, well then, all right. So then what's your truth? The truth is it's not my fault. And the truth is I'm beautiful, I'm capable, I'm smart, and I'm worthy. Good. How does that feel? Relief, freeing, unstoppable, limitless. Like I feel like myself. Cool. Now what do you want to do? Oh, I want to work out. I want to eat healthy. I want to go play with my grandkids. I want to go explore. I want to be adventurous. Awesome. What's your outcome? It's going to be expansive. So, right, we were only in the simplest way to put this, we're either in a contracting or an expanded state in our life. We cannot be in both at the same time. We're either living and dying, like meaning like we're walking, breathing humans, but we're actually contracting and dying in our life. We feel like there's no growth, or we're a walking, breathing human being, living, but also living. Like I'm talking about joy and happiness and peace. And you wake up every day in gratitude and just full of abundance. Well, then the cool thing is that vibration, that frequency attracts more of that. Like energy attracts like energy. And I'm only here today saying this and so passionate about it because I had to go through my own experience, my own trauma, my own limiting beliefs, my own low frequency to then get to helping others. And now when I help others, I know it works. And when you know something works, then you want to spread the news and say, hey, everybody, let's wake up. Let's live a place of more joy and happiness and peace. So hopefully that answered your question there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also got stuck very much in the cognitive, trying to think my way, and then also the action oriented stuff like, well, I'm going to go into meditation and I'm going to open my mind and I'm going to let spirit tell me what I need to do. And then I'd go start taking action, but like it wasn't really inspired. It was still coming from a place of fear and from the limiting belief because I was like, yeah, I'm inspired. I was trying to fake it, fake it till you make it with the expansive, which you do have to do. You do have to practice being in an expansive state in order to make it a pattern, right? You can't, if you keep contracting and going there, like it's a thing, it's a practice because your body is used to doing the contracted thing. It's going to keep going there. So you have to keep bringing yourself forward out of it and sometimes you're faking it. And sometimes it's like, okay, let's deal with where this came from again, because you're still stuck in that story, right?
Well, yeah, to your point, you're 1,000% correct. And the reason why is because it's familiar. So even though you're not meant to be in doom and gloom, you're not meant to be in survival mode, it can be more familiar. And sadly, when it's more familiar, then your brain, your body chemically are more hardwired to keep you more in the knowing and the familiar because it's more safe, it's more predictable. And that's the more of like you're activated more in your survival brain, your primal brain that's just trying to keep you alive and safe. But the reality is, even if you're a good person, you're not going to thrive. And I've already done it. My story is, I'm a good person, religious and did all the things right, crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, like lettered and everything I needed to letter, like literally was like the most perfect angel on planet Earth. But why did I become homeless? Why did I become 24 hours away from bankruptcy? Why did I lose absolutely everything in my life? And so what you recognize is even if you're a good person, bad things are going to happen to you if you're stuck in that familiar doom and gloom place. And that's where I was. I was trapped because that's what my emotional home was. I didn't know. I was raised in generational trauma of doom and gloom, of fears and limiting beliefs and contracted energy. I had no other idea. I had no idea until I came into this other side. Holy cow. Life can be so drastically different. And not just like we get bits and pieces of it all the time, right? Oh, it's a good moment. Oh, it's a happy day. Oh, like I meditated and now I feel really good. But that's not the actual full living that you're talking about. It's going back again to that survival brain and the familiarity. Your chemical part of your entire brain and body are going to pull you back into it. And so what you have to do is you have to learn the tools to basically rewire. You have to rewire, you have to learn, you have to teach your survival brain it's safe. It's safe to feel joy. It's safe to feel happy. It's safe to trust. And sometimes by doing that, you have to learn to change the protection mechanisms because all of us that have come from trauma, all of us that have come from the generational limiting beliefs and the contracted energy, what's happened is we've developed protection mechanisms. Isolation, avoidance, fears, not trusting anymore, waiting for the next shoe to drop, constantly living our life in like a small, safe space. And what we have to recognize is the more that we play in that world, that's what's more of our world is going to be. Like energy attracts like energy. I'll say that the second time because it's so true. And so what I want to do is show people, you know what, like I think the hope is really what can give more than anybody. Like just that little bit that you're feeling can actually be an emotional home. It can be your life. You can be expansive and you can feel it magnetically. Like we are energy. And you can feel me on the call right now. Like you can't deny that we are energy. And you can tell if somebody is full of shit or you can tell if somebody's actually gone through it. And that's what I'd love to come on here with podcasts to wake people up and say, it is time for you to expand.
Beautiful.
And I will give any tools, any tips, any secrets away because I truly believe the world will be a prosperous place when we're all expanding and all in our authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're not coming from fear and scarcity beliefs, then we don't feel the need to necessarily compete or feel threatened by the other people around us. And we can be more open-hearted and loving and accepting and curious and compassionate. Less empathy, more compassion, maybe. So you came from a religious background. For me, I needed to leave the religious background behind because it was very much did not serve me and just wasn't aligned with my soul. Some people need to keep their religion because it's the thing that gives them hope. And it's a thing that it's like the only high vibe thing they think they have, right? And so it's a different choice for each person. What would you say? Did you have a religious background and leave it, or do you still maintain it? And how did you navigate all of that?
Yeah, I usually try not to bring up religion and politics because it's kind of a dead end street with everybody. Like I feel like everybody has their own beliefs with that, and it's something I don't really like to pre-impose mine because I truly believe I have seen expanded people in religion and they are able to make that work. So I'm not to say that this is any part of my way of education or teaching. I always leave politics and religion out. But to answer your question, I was raised very strict LDS. That's Mormon. And I did absolutely everything, crossed, like I said, all the T's, dotted all the I's in that religion. And what I found is I was living a life for somebody else and not me. And for me, I did leave the religion after a divorce because I found that I pretty much only married that guy because of what the religion's checkpoints were that I needed to marry. And I did that. And I found out, well, that wasn't my checkpoints though. And so I started to have a deeper, closer connection with God, that I didn't need a religion anymore, man-made religion to come in between. And a lot of people are going to get offended. So I'm sorry for those that are offended. But this is my story, that for me, I have a much deeper, closer relationship with my God. My spiritual connection with that is closer. But I truly believe that people can have a very strong, close relationship in a religion as well. So I do believe that that's not what I practice or preach. It's more about coming out of a contracted energy and into an expanded, and letting that be your emotional home forever, like a sustainable, like I'm talking 90 to 100% of your time that you're in that state. But yeah, that's the answer to your
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I mean, it's similar for me. I was raised Jehovah's Witness and I needed to leave it because I was doing the same thing, just trying to follow the rules, and the rules just they weren't made for me. But there are many people who stay in that religion and they feel that it's their truth. So people get to whatever is your truth as long as it's supportive of you. It sounds like a lot of what you're doing with people is reframing because, in childhood, we get these silly stories, not to belittle a child, but to say they make a lot of assumptions about how it's their fault that something happened, right? And then as an adult, you can look back at it, reframe, and be like, oh, that's not what was happening at all. Like my dad didn't think I was stupid. He had a couple too many drinks and he was irritated that I made a good point and he didn't have a good comeback, you know? So like that's reframing. And when you're trying to get into expansive energy instead of contracted energy, this is kind of off subject, but why would you say medication is not supportive of that usually?
Oh my gosh. I mean, where do we start? I mean, medication is a suppressant, right? Like it's about suppressing the emotion. And I mean, you just turn into a zombie. Anybody that's been on medication, you guys can all relate. Like it works for a short amount of time, then what do you have to do? It's a cocktail. You have to change it up. You have to do it again. And what is it doing? It's just burying that grief. It's burying that loss. It's burying that suppression even deeper. Does it get to the root of it? No. So why are we doing it? Because it's a quick fix? It's not even a fix. So
Yeah.
to me, I'm so against it. And I do not work with people that are advocates of it. If you want to be on medications your whole life, we will not be a good fit. It just will not. But if you're like, I'm on 5 meds and I want to get off of them, well, then you and I would be a great fit. I'd be like, all right, let's go. Let's start going into, not immediately. Obviously, I'm not going to be dumb and just throw you off those meds, but I am going to slowly rebuild your foundation so that you feel strong. And then between you and your doctor, you say, I feel like I don't need these. They test you and you're good to go. Get off of them. I've been doing it all the time. I do it all the time for people. Being able to get off medications, one of our first celebrations that we were able to do with each other and say, look at that. How does that feel? I feel like myself. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
how does that feel?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I can do anything. Good. How does that feel? Well, feel like I'm unstoppable. Well, how does that feel? Let's go. Like, get out of your way, right? The meds just holds us back. It just pushes us down.
Yeah. People say when they get off of them, they have so much more energy. Like when you're on them, you're so sleepy, like you said, almost like a zombie. Like I was on them very, very young, and I turned into a total zombie. That's what I felt like. I felt nothing. I behaved in ways that I would never behave because I didn't feel anything. And so I didn't have remorse for doing things that were harmful to people. I mean, hurting their feelings more than anything, but still, like, you're not yourself, and you think that that's an escape from your emotions, but it's like the way to move through the emotion is just to feel the emotion and realize that it's not going to kill you. It's not that scary. It's just an emotion. We can move past it.
Well, it's understanding emotions, right? Fear is a message, anger is a message, sadness is a message, anxiety is a message. And once you actually recognize it's your body's way of actually talking to you and you listen and it goes away and it turns into love. Oh my gosh, like where was this in school, right? Like truly, like I mean, my greatest thing is really sitting down and showing people what emotions actually mean, what they're really trying to tell you. Did you know that anger means to stand up and set a boundary?
Right. Right.
And do you
Isn't
know if
that
we did that,
exciting?
didn't we know that if we did that, the anger goes away and it turns to love? But guess what people are doing? They don't know these things. So what do? They push the emotion down. And what that emotion does is it gets locked in energetically in the body. And that creates then a physical pain. So I sometimes get clients that have just gotten to the point after medication, after doctor visits, after the talk therapy, after, the relentless, like trying to be a positive, trying to meditate, trying to get out of these kind of surface fixes. And then eventually what happens is they come to me and they've got physical pain. But it can't be explained at all. Like the doctors can't figure out why they have this physical pain, because what eventually happens is a thing called tension myositis syndrome. And what that means is eventually the inflammation and the oxygen starts to deplete from the body. And you'll find that the nervous system is attached to everything within the body. I have been a weight loss coach for over 20 years. And I found that if somebody was stressed, they could not lose weight. Why? Because your cortisol will raise your blood sugar levels without you even eating. I don't care how perfect your diet is. You won't lose the weight. Do you know medication also stops it so you can't lose the weight? You also know that, this is fascinating. So it's not even weight loss, but like what was really interesting when I had my podcast going, and I was in the weight loss space. I was interviewing hormone experts, and they would come on and say, if you're stressed out, your hormones will always be imbalanced. I don't care how much HRT you're on. You'll always have a foundation that you're like always having to try to figure out these hormones. Well, the other one was true about digestion. Your digestion will always be funky if you're in a place of anxiety or a place of stress. And then the other interesting thing is I'm an entrepreneur. So what I found in my journey being an entrepreneur is you go to work and you don't know if you're making money. You don't know if you're going to get paid that day, right? So what you do is you recognize that working hard is actually not the ticket to success. It's being able to work in alignment, because you can work in 80 hours a week, 15 hours, 15 hours a day, but you can go in the wrong direction and make costly mistakes. And because you're out of alignment, right? So to me, what I teach people is when you get to the foundation, it's hormones, it's weight loss, it's financial freedom, it's deeper connection in your relationship. It is everything. And everybody's going to say it, but they're just going to all say it in different realms. So my way is I like to simplify it. I like to just show people the overall view. Then once we go to that view, then we go to the next stage. Okay, then it goes to here, then it goes to here, then it goes to here. Now let me ask about you. So I break that down so that it simplifies it. And they're like, I know what the enemy is now. A lot of people think anxiety is the devil. I know straight up all of my anxiety clients. And it's like, it's still to this day, it's just so shocking, because if you think that anxiety is the devil, where's the power then? It's not in you. The power is outside of you. So do you have any control? No. And that's why everybody with anxiety feel like they don't have control, because the power is outside of them. What I teach people is the power is inside of you.
The anxiety is telling you that there's a circumstance you need to change in your life.
Exactly. Anxiety is trying to prepare you for worst case scenario. Anxiety is just trying to keep you safe. Anxiety is just trying to keep you in survival brain. So by teaching and by learning that and getting new ways of understanding how you can reframe and rewire and say, thank you, anxiety, for keeping me safe. Thank you for trying to protect me. But guess what? I'm okay. And I am going to feel happiness and joy and peace today. And that is my new emotional home. and I will feel safe even in those emotions. Do you know what that does for people?
Oh, it's huge.
I've seen people fall off anxiety meds left and right because they take their power back.
So to get past the hurdle and to not continue to sit there and be frozen and not do the thing, I just took one simple action, which was to record myself on and post it on social. I recorded it. I hated the recording, and I didn't watch it. I stopped watching them. I just started posting them, moving on. And then after that, it's like, oh, this is not a big deal. Why was I spending so much energy contracted and afraid of this? This is a very small thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's really powerful for you to do. That when your mind was in a contracted place, but you did an expanding like action, that is extremely difficult to do. So that shows your amount of willpower and commitment and dedication. Because generally what I see is that doesn't happen usually that way. Nobody can usually kind of block the emotion and then turn the action. Usually you'll find it in sequence. The thought controls the emotion controls the action controls that outcome, right? So it's really fascinating. You were able to pause that. And that, to me, that's neuroplasticity. That's being able to hardwire yourself from the inside out and pull yourself into that thriving version of yourself. That's really powerful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it becomes a practice. Like one of the gifts my dad gave me growing up was, he said it all the time, and sometimes I associate it with not such a positive thing, but like mind over emotion, mind over emotion, mind over emotion. He said that all the time. Mm-hmm. And he would have me do things that I was terrified to do. And then once I did it, it was like, so it was kind of a practice from childhood, kind of a toxic one at that age, but it did help me with moving past things that really can hold me back.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that it could be toxic as far as like a big emotion. And then when I'm supposed to do with this emotion, just suppress it. So then that can turn into a suppressing of emotions if we don't allow them to be heard and expressed. But I also can see that can be powerful because thoughts, if we're able to change them in that moment, can create a different emotion. So we can rewire emotions by changing a contracting way of thinking. For example, for those that are listening, like what is a contracting way of thinking? Like I always point out like always or nevers. If we're saying I'll always be like this, it will never change. Those would be like examples of contracting statements. Or we can ask ourselves questions. Why am I like this? Why am I not the lucky one? Why does this always happen to me? Right? What happens is our brain is like a dog on a leash. It's just going to go try to find the answer to that. And we're not going to like that answer. It's just going to be more of a spiral downhill. And so the flip of that is being able to rewire and do a more expanding question instead. What is this teaching me? What am I learning from this? Where is this guiding me? What is this? Where's my comeback story with this? What was the purpose of this? Why do I need to go through this? You know, those type of elements allow more of an expanding way of thinking that can then pull us out of those kind of rock bottom moments.
Yeah. Let's use weight loss for an example. You have someone who's taking the action. They're cleaning up their diet and nothing is changing. What I've found with people like that is you tend to be very self-critical and they tend to be badgering themselves all day long, which keeps that cortisol spiking. Is that something you've found to be true?
Yeah, there's a lot of webs that we can kind of go down with this. There's like three things that pop up in my mind immediately when you're talking about that. The first one is we can't hate ourselves to a body that we love. You know, you just, it's not possible, right? That's why The Biggest Loser shut down and why it wasn't successful. The contestants ended up shutting it down because the whole point of it was like, who's the biggest loser, right? Like that was who the winner was. And so when we look in the mirror every day and we hate ourselves, what we're going to find as an action after that is poor eating or no motivation, or we don't want to do something that's like self-love or self-care to ourselves. And so I'm an advocate for being able to turn that way of self-criticism over into a way of self-love. And by doing that on more of a root level, you can't just go to the affirmation and say, you're beautiful, and then fake it. You can't. It's not possible. And it'll actually just set you further and further back. And so it's really by going to truth. Truth is what will prevail, right? By going back into those limiting beliefs that we mentioned at the very beginning of the call will help with that. The other aspect of that is usually what I found by doing it for about 20 years is I found that clients would be really good for about 3 weeks. And then after 3 weeks, they would go back to their old ways, right? Their traditional kind of habits, I guess you could say. And what are habits from? Like I kind of hate that word, like habits and motivation, because like I got so stuck in that for decades because they're just so overused words, in my opinion. And so I like to redefine what habits and motivation really are. Habits in action. And what is underneath an action is an emotion. And what's underneath an emotion is a thought, right? And so by going to the foundation of it, by really like understanding what are the thoughts that we're saying and what are the emotions that we're feeling, well, that's what's going to dictate your actions, aka habit, right? So by changing your habit, by not being able to change your emotions, it's going to be near impossible. And I don't see things sustainable. And I'm all about sustainability. I'm all about like getting you to your green zone, your curiosity, your inquiry, your financial freedom, like those type of things. But only 92% of people stay in that place of stuckness, and only 8% of people actually do thrive. That's a fact. You can look it up. And so by me, I want to reverse that. I want to be able to turn the world around so that we can start having more, I mean, give it at least 50-50, like heaven forbid. Like, but I obviously I want to be bigger than that. Like my goal is to try to change 101,000 people. So that way they have a direct influence of 80,000 people around them. That's 8 billion people in the world. Like, let's do it. Like, why hold back, you know? So that's kind of my mission. That's why I'm on all these podcasts, is because I really just want to show people how simple and easy it can be. But I mean, going back to the weight loss thing, yeah, you can only be perfect for so long, right? But I dealt with a lot of perfectionism and people pleasing and self-criticizers, like things like this that are not going to get you anywhere fast. You're just going to go back to gaining the weight back. And that's what I kept seeing back and forth is I gained the weight, I lost the weight. I gained the weight, I lost the weight, right? And their emotions are going with it, and their identity is going with it. And so to me, I wanted to be, that was what I stood out in the weight loss industry was, it's time for sustainability. Are you done with the roller coaster? Are you done? Okay, well, let me know if you are, because I'm here to take you on and show you a way to have the weight off without the Ozempics, without the bullshit that's like getting bone loss and metabolism decrease and people starving themselves to try to lose weight. Like that is such a bullshit, excuse my language, but like it's such a sad world that we live in the pharmaceutical space now, that is these quick fixes that ultimately in the long term just leave people with more misery, more problems, and more health crises. So to me, it's being able to show people there is an easier way. There really is. It's so sad that it's been complicated, but I'm here to simplify it for them. And no matter what your goals are, I truly believe that when we're in alignment, then the outcome of it is alignment. And so that's, you know, it was really interesting. Like once I kind of came into this like life coaching, I guess, type of thing, what was really fascinating is I was like, well, I don't really know who to work with, because I have addicts in my program, I have marriages in my program, I have teenagers in my program, and I have weight loss in my program. Like who am I serving? Like I kind of lost my avatar there for a moment because I just started attracting everyone. And so I did an ad not too long ago, and I did an ad for all of them just to really find out like who needs the most. And what came back was anxiety. And I was like, all right, that's who wants to hear it the most. So I have turned my entire business from fitness over into anxiety. But I mean, the beautiful news is no matter what your goal is, it works. It all comes down to the foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I see people often are very resistant to doing their inner work. Like, do you find that people have a stigma around changing their mindset, their mental health, having self-love? Like, I see people having a stigma around having self-love. Like they think that's fluffy nonsense. And then on the other hand, we've got the quick fix is the way, and that keeps people asleep. Like there are people who are like 1 foot in awakening and 1 foot out. If you're still absolutely against having self-love, if you're so addicted to your inner critic, you know, self-flagellation, I mean, then you're not ready for coaching, right?
Yeah, and there's different stages, right? Like I hit my rock bottom because I was a victim mindset and I was in self-pity and I thought I was a good person and that bad things shouldn't happen to me. So, I mean, I get it. I was there. And so I definitely know what it feels like to kind of give up on hope and give up on change and give up on this thing called self-development. I absolutely understand that, because when you've been trying for so long, or you've been in talk therapy for so long, or maybe you've been buying so many programs or so many coaches and so many courses, eventually the trust really does wither away. And that's a protection mechanism that people have, is stop trusting, because if you trust, you're just going to get burned again. And so I would say, you have to find your right person, right? Like, I feel like with learning who you need to connect with, your heart and your intuition is going to guide you. But I don't believe that rock bottom is necessarily bad for people. I feel like those people that you're talking about are going to hit a version of their rock bottom in their life. And then what does that instill? It means there's only one way to go, which is up. You can't lose anything at that point, because you've already lost everything. And I've been there, and I know what that's like. And so it really develops a massive character inside one's person. And that's why I'm so passionate about where I'm at, because I worked the 80 hours in a week. I hated myself to a transformation. I carried all the limiting beliefs and all the fears and all the anxiety possible, all the depression possible. And I thought I was still going to get a different outcome. So I am walking proof, like living proof of like being able to go to the rock bottom and recognize what works and what doesn't work. And so now as I'm pulled out, I go, ooh, I can see it very clear. It's very crystal clear to me. And so those that are kind of basically in their own way, that's okay. They'll be in their own way until they hit a version of rock bottom, until they recognize that that direction is not the direction, and then they'll change. And that's when change usually happens, is when that rock bottom comes. And so usually, if those that are listening right now, if they're like, well, that's not me, maybe it's my husband, or maybe it's my teenager, or whatever it is, well, then get them to rock bottom faster. I'll give you an example what I mean by this. So I have a sister, and she's having some struggles with her husband with his limiting beliefs right now. And he's like, I'm afraid you're going to leave me, and I'm afraid that you're going to surpass me, and all this type of stuff. And she keeps sugarcoating it, like, no, I'll always be here, or I'm always going to be fine. But she came up to me crying and saying, Danita, I'm afraid that I actually am going to leave him, because I just don't see the confident man anymore. I see, this just like constantly negative, guy that just is weighing me down, and I'm wanting to expand and run my life, but he's just constantly weighing me down. And I said, so stop sugarcoating it and start telling him the actual facts of that you're afraid that you're actually are going to leave him because he's not waking up. Ooh. She goes, I did not think about that. So the faster we can have people hit their rock bottom is the faster they can go to change. We do not help people by being people pleasers. We do not help people by helping them. We do not help people by sugarcoating. Fuck no. Excuse my language again. I'm swearing a lot on this podcast. But it's called support versus save. Stop saving, because all you're doing is depleting yourself. And so that would be kind of really specific to my people pleasers that are out there, because I used to be one, and we'll always have to work on that. But I truly believe that I'm now more of a supporter than a saver. And once you identify that you can help so much more people when you have that attitude, by rock bottom is actually not a bad thing. So that was one point that we wanted to go into that you were asking, and I was going to go into a different point with that as well. But I want to see if there's anything else that jumps out at you as far as that conversation goes.
No, I think that was really, really well put. And, one of the ways that we can be choosing ourselves is by choosing small moments of joy and expansion whenever we can. So like there's always like an inner child in us that wants to be delighted and play and have fun, and like indulge that part of you. Like go out and do the fun thing. At some point I was, financially had decided that I needed to be so perfectly responsible that I stopped spending money on anything that brought me joy. And I stopped prioritizing having fun and doing something just for the sake of fun. At one point in personal development, I was having fun to get past the block. So there was like work involved in it. So that's a really funny thing that people can get into, especially perfectionists and people pleasers. So do you ever see that? And
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yes, it goes back to what is having fun, that's expanded, right? What is limiting ourselves from having fun, contracted, right? So kind of like going back into that, just recognizing, well, where does it come from? Well, there can be a part of us that is more familiar with keeping ourselves in more of that doom and gloom. And so it's being able to then to retrain, rewire the brain and the body to say, it's okay to have fun. It's okay to go on that vacation. It's okay to spend money on that lipstick. It's okay. And what you'll find is, again, I'm going to say it the third time, like energy attracts like energy. The more fun that you have, you're going to find more fun is the outcome that you're going to keep getting. And so I relate to that because I used to not celebrate when I had sales. I used to say, well, I'm not there yet, and I'll celebrate at the very, 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 very end. 8 years later, 8 effing years later, I was like, what am I doing to myself? Burnout, burnout, burnout. And so what I found is that by actually celebrating your successes, no matter how big or small they are, or like you mentioned, adding more fun into your life, what happens is you're going to raise your frequency. And when you raise your frequency, go look at that Albert Einstein quote, your frequency is the energy that attracts your outcome. Boom, boom. Like it's going to be that simple. And so what I found is I got more sales. I became more successful when I started celebrating the small wins. So, but yeah, I wanted to go into this point. I think this was the other piece I wanted to go into. As you mentioned, some people don't want to go down the self-development because they think it's hard. They think it's effort, it's costly or time consuming or what have you. No, it doesn't have to be. Okay. It really does not have to. It can actually be easier. And here's why. I'm going to actually prove that because I am such a truth seeker that I'm ready for anybody to come on and debate me at any time, at any place. Like I have done my work enough to like really feel solid and very passionate what I do. And I invite those that say, I have a different perspective. Give me your perspective. Show me. Because I am a truth seeker and I'm going to keep digging, but I feel like I found it. So prove me wrong on what I've currently found. And so here's my proof, is that when you draw out that neurological pathway loop of the thoughts, then the emotions to then the actions to then to the outcome, split it in half. And what you're going to find is that 92% of people are going from action to outcome and back and forth. What that means is they're working really freaking hard. They got a lot of to-do lists, they're perfectionists or they're the people pleasers, and they're in the constant state of doing. But if you look at the other side of it, you're going to see the other side is the thoughts and the emotions, which is the being side of it. And so there are studies that have shown that when we are stuck in only the actions outcome, that one side, the doing part, we are burning up to 30 to 50% of our day, our time, our energy. And if you think about that for a moment, really think about that. When we're in a place of overthinking, when you're trying to relax, but yet you're thinking of your to-do list, you're not really fully relaxed. When you are thinking of you're in your to-do list, but the whole time you're thinking you want to relax, you're multitasking, you're not getting a lot of it done. And so what you're finding is you're constantly in this like mental fog, this mental unclarity, this mental distraction, this mental marathon that keeps you spinning, and you're not fully really being able to optimize yourself. And that's where losing that 30 to 50%. And I have actually had clients say, Danita, that's 30 to 50% of my life is gone. I have no idea where 30 to 50% of my life is gone. And that regret of feeling like you've been living your life in a place of doing, constant to-do lists, and feeling like your outcome is not at all benefiting the hard work you're putting in, stop. Like, stop. If there's anybody that can listen to this right now, stop. Because that is the definition of insanity. And when you know, you'll know. And right now you only have certain information, but once that's what these podcasts do, is it allows us to think outside of the box. And here's where I'm going to say think outside of the box. Go to being, which is have fun, add creativity, be curious, invite play, become adventurous, celebrate the small wins. And what you'll find is in that being is what's going to help the doing. You're going to be able to find yourself working in the entire like neurological pathway loop rather than half of it. Gaining back that 30 to 50% of your life, what would you do if you had 30 to 50% more of your time and energy? Who could you be if you had nothing holding you back? Like, I really want everyone to imagine that right now. Who would you be without yourself holding you back? Who'd you become? Because here's the really cool part. The future is full of possibilities and opportunities and limitless and expansion and full of the unknowns. And as soon
the
as you
unknowns
wrap,
are safe.
And as soon as you wrap your brain around that of who you can become with nothing holding you back anymore, I have seen some really phenomenal outcomes. Like women that were overweight that now have got modeling. I got a client this week say, I just got a modeling thing that signed me up for 2 years. Danita, how, what, how did this happen? And I laugh and it's like, it's just it's part of the future. Have fun. Watch the opportunities and just come knocking at your door because you're in what's called
Oh,
alignment. I mean, that's just one
yeah.
of hundreds, but like it's not even, it doesn't even it's like it's like not even it's not even like what's the word? Shocking anymore. It's like it's like, yeah, it's the ripple effect. I get it. Yeah. What else? What else do you got? You know what I mean? Like I just see more of this coming into my clients' lives, and this is why I'm so passionate what I do.
Yes, I love it. So where do people find you? How can they work with you? Tell us how to get in contact.
Yeah, I've got a couple. If you're like still on the fence and you're like, I don't know about this girl, then I've got a masterclass you can go check out, and that's at alignwithdanita.com. That you can go check it out, and that's free. If you're like, you know what, this girl's speaking my language, and I'm ready to really get out of my own way, and I'm really ready to get 30 to 50% of my time back and become this unstoppable version of her, and she's got guarantees that I'm going to get there. Okay, so you can go to callwithdanita.com. And you can jump on a phone call with me and I'll go over exactly where you're at. I'm going to give you the tracking and metrics to show you where you're at and where we need to go. And we're going to celebrate the entire time. Every little win you have, we are going to celebrate. And it's going to be fun because I put fun into the program.
Beautiful. Do you have anything you would like to leave with the audience, a last thought?
Don't lose the hope. Don't lose the hope. That hope is that one thing that keeps it going. And maybe you're on that like 1% left. That little string is holding on. Don't lose it. Don't lose it.
Beautiful. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for all your wisdom. It's wonderful to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.